So when you've got a variable on both sides, that's the scary part. But other than that, it ends up looking just like those two-step equations that you've been doing.
So basically it's just a three-step equation?
Yeah, we're just one more step.
So
if the triangle circle thing helps you, you want to do that, especially now because we have one extra variable, okay? So if that helps you, you need to do that. So this equation right now, we've got one variable and one number on both sides, okay? So it's balanced right now. I have the same number of items on both sides of my equal sign. If you have a balanced equation, because that's the whole point of equations, we're trying to figure out what A is, and to get there, we have to keep our equation balanced. We have to keep something on either side of the equal sign. So if it's already balanced, then the first thing I want to do is look for my smallest variable. So I've got A on the left side, and I've got 3A on the right side. Which one of those would be my smaller variable? A. Anytime you see a letter by itself, imagine a 1 in front of that number. Anytime you see a variable by itself, imagine a 1 in front of it. So that's technically 1A. So which of those is smaller? Think of it like that. So my smaller variable is this 1A. So that means that's what I'm going to move. When we're solving equations and we've got to move stuff from side to side, how do we move them? What do we need to remember? How do we move things from one side to the other? We're going to add it or subtract it. We're doing the opposite of whatever is happening. So we're doing the opposite to get rid of things. That's the whole point of these. So in this case, if I've got a positive 1A, what's the opposite of positive 1A? Negative 1A, or to subtract it. So that's why we subtract A from both sides, or 1A. So that's my first step. Now I'm on the next step. So I bring everything else down. So I've got the 3, I've got my number, equals -5, that's my other number, and then 3 minus 1 was 2. So 2A. So now this should look familiar. This looks like those two steps that you've been doing that you've gotten comfortable doing. So remember when we solve those two steps, we always add or subtract first. So in this case, I'm going to add. I have to get rid of the -5. Why can't I get rid of that 3?
Because negative's farther away from 0.
Because it's by itself. It's the only thing on that side of the equation. So if I get rid of that, I'm done. I've just ruined my equation. I have to keep something on both sides. I have to keep it balanced the whole time. And then I can't get rid of the 2A because there's no other variables. There's nothing else to combine it with. So I have to get rid of that 5. And I do the opposite of the sign that was there. So since it was -5 or -5, the opposite would be to +5. So it cancels that out. And then I'm left with 3 plus 5. And we bring it all down. So then when you've got equations, remember your last step is always multiplying or dividing. So I've got 8.
Divided by 2 is 4.
Divided by 2. Since 2A is technically 2 times A, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to divide.
So it'll be 8 equals 4.
So A equals 8 divided by 2,
4.
which is 4.
That's so cool.
So it's the same thing. It's just like those two steps, except you start out a little bit harder. You got one extra step. Okay, so -2A minus 9 equals 6A plus 15. So you can do your triangle circle. So is my equation balanced right now?
No. Yes.
It is, right? I've got one triangle and one circle on both sides. It's even. I've got one of each. So that means if it's even like that, if it's balanced, then I have to start with my smallest variable. That's what I want to move first to get this thing going.
-2.
So that should be negative 2a. That's my smallest variable. How do I move that negative 2a?
Add it? By adding.
By adding it. What's the sign in front of it right now?
Negative.
Negative. So the opposite would be to add it, or a positive. Make sure, since that's a variable, I have to add it to the variable on the other side. I can't add 2 plus 15 because that a, it's a triangle. We can't combine triangles and circles. They're separate things. So when you move it, it's got to be added to your other variable. So it cancels out here. Then bring everything else down. So negative 9 is left. 6a plus 2a. 8a. And then plus 15. That's part of the reason I want you guys to circle these things and triangle these things, because you want to make sure you're circling the sign that's in front of the numbers. You don't want to lose those negatives or those positives.
So 8 plus 15.
Do your triangle, circle. Circle, triangle, circle. I can't combine triangles with circles.
You can't combine circles.
I can't get rid of negative 9 because then it's unbalanced and my scale has just fallen off the map. So what can I move? 15. How do I move 15?
You subtract it.
Subtract it. Always look at the sign in front to see how you're supposed to move these things. I'm adding or subtracting first. In this case, I've got to subtract. So minus 15. Then when you go to put that in your calculator, negative 9, that's got to go in the calculator first. So negative 9 minus 15.
Negative 24.
Good.
It's mine. Yeah, this is triangle.
Then follow along with us. Put this stuff in your calculator. Then your last step with equations, it's always multiplying or dividing. So what's my last step going to be? Divide, because this is
Is there
multiplying.
ever going to be one that actually moves?
There's been a couple. On y'all's worksheet there was 2, I think.
Negative 3.
Good. So then negative 24 divided by 8 is negative 3.
Which means equals negative 2.
So we just figured out what that A is representing. It's representing negative 3. So let's look at number 1. So 6s minus 10 equals s, or 1s. Same thing. So is this equation balanced? Do I have the same number of items on either side of my equal sign? It doesn't look like it, right? I've got a triangle and a circle on one side, and then I just have a triangle on the other side. So which side of this equation can I start on?
Left.
I have to start on the left. So that's what I mean. If it's already balanced, then look for your smallest variable. If it's unbalanced, I have to start on the heavier side, because my whole point, just like a scale, I've got to balance it. So what can I get rid of on that bigger side?
6s.
6s. How can I get rid of 6s?
Subtract.
Subtract it, because why?
Because it's positive.
It's a positive, so the only way to get rid of it would be to subtract it. So 6s.
That did not work quite well.
So then 1s minus 6s, or 1 minus 6.
Negative 5.
Negative 5. Negative 5. 1 minus 6. And then bring everything else down. So this was just a 2-step. I had to add or subtract first. Now my last step, I'm either multiplying or dividing.
You're dividing.
I'm dividing.
Yeah.
When I go to divide this in the calculator, or if I'm doing it in my head, it's negative 10 divided by negative 5.
2.
Which is positive 2. So 2 equals s, or s equals 2. Same thing.
I don't think she knows.
Number 3, I've got my number, variable with the sign in front, and my variable with the sign in front. So this is just like that first one. Is it balanced right now?
No.
No, so that means which side should I start on?
The left.
The left side. It's got more stuff. It's heavier. I gotta get rid of something. Which one do I want to get rid of?
The 3.
The 3.
The 3, because I can combine it with the 2. So how do we get rid of -3 or -3?
Add it.
Add it. Add it or change it to positive. So plus 3u plus 3u. That way I can cancel it out on this side. Then 2 plus 3.
5.
And then bring everything else down.
Oh, no.
So I added or subtracted first. Okay, then I'm going to multiply or divide second. Last step.
Divide.
Divide. Since that's being multiplied. So 25 divided by 5.
5.
5. So 5 equals u or u equals 5, same thing. Okay, last one, number 9. I've got 1.6h minus 72 equals 4h minus 30. So now is this one balanced? Is this a balanced equation?
Yes.
I've got the same number. I have one variable and one number on both sides. So they're even right now. That means I've got to find my lowest, my smallest variable.
It would be 1 in.
On number 9.
Oh, my God.
What's your smaller variable?
1.6.
That 1.6. Okay, so that means that's what I've got to get rid of first. How do I get rid of that positive? Minus 1.6h. Minus 1.6h. Bring everything else down. Even with the sign in front, like that minus 72. With the sign in front, now it's negative 72. And then what is 4 minus 1.6? Good, 2.4h. And bring down your last number with the sign in front. So I've got a circle, a triangle, a circle. Okay, now it's a 2-step equation. I've got to add or subtract first. What do I want to add or subtract first?
30.
That 30. If it's minus 30 or negative 30,
102.
I've got to add it. So plus 30. Good. In your calculator, negative 72 plus 30 should give me negative 42. Then I'm on my last step, which means I'm going to have to multiply or divide.
Divide.
Been dividing the whole day, pretty much. So I'm going to divide by 2.4.
Negative 17.5.
Good. You got it.
No.
Negative 17.5 when you divide negative 42 by 2.4.